to Soapbox After Dark. This video is going to be relatively quick, so if you see me pop in and pop out, that would be why. I discussed a little bit about Cory Booker's marijuana legislation that he's backing in the Senate. Now, thing is, just because I don't necessarily like Cory Booker all that much, what he's talking about for marijuana, I actually do like. I mean, what he's trying to do is actually pretty extensive with regards to marijuana, going so far as to decriminalizing it and expunging the records of the people who were locked up as, you could say, at this point, political prisoners in our jails all throughout our country. Keep in mind, more people are picked up on marijuana than all violent crimes combined, meaning cops are spending most of their time just picking up stoners, at least in the context of specific crime. All right, so let's go through Tulsi Gabbard's plan. Tulsi Gabbard's plan is not bad, but it doesn't go as far as Cory Booker's plan, but it has the extra benefit of being bipartisan. Tulsi Gabbard released this, I think maybe a week or so ago, if I'm not mistaken. At least it came to my mind within a few days ago, so let me say it that way. And this article came out maybe a week or so ago. But nevertheless, I wanted to discuss it because various people are going to be putting out their own plans, and regardless of the Democrat, many of them seem to be on this platform of, at the very least, they're trying to push for the legalization of marijuana. Good. It only took the majority of the country to be overwhelmingly in favor of it. So Tulsi Gabbard's plan. Tulsi Gabbard's plan has two main things. One is to decriminalize it or deschedule it, so it's not illegal from a federal standpoint, which means states will be allowed to make their own laws within the context of marijuana laws. Right now, federal law supersedes state law. This just kind of is what it is. But because it's not legal from the federal standpoint, it doesn't really matter what takes place with regards to tax revenue that could be pulled from this. It's not allowed. And at any point, depending on the federal government, they can go in and attack states. This was something I remember in California where people were losing their shops left and right. But nevertheless, Tulsi Gabbard's plan is we're going to decriminalize it or deschedule it so each state can come up with their own mind with regards to their own marijuana laws. My only problem with this is you have a country where half of the country can go to prison for smoking a plant. And if Tulsi Gabbard full well believes that it's a travesty of justice for people to go to prison for something like this, it's like, come on. Like, you could make the case that, well, the only way I was going to give Republican support is if I only went to so far. Fair enough. But just saying. And this video is not necessarily going fully into that. This video is more about, this is the bill that Tulsi Gabbard is putting up, and this is essentially, the basics of the bill. There are two pieces of legislation. The first piece of legislation deschedules. The second bit of legislation studies the states that have decriminalized, meaning legal to smoke medical or legal to recreational, to essentially study those states, use states as laboratories, and come up with hard numbers, as opposed to this kind of outdated, just say no and, drugs causes cancer. Yeah, so let's make sure I didn't miss anything, because I don't want this video to be long. I want this video to be relatively straightforward and to the point. On Thursday morning, Representative Tulsi Gabbard and Don Young introduced what they call a landmark piece of legislation, the Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act of 2019, which is the only bipartisan piece of legislation that would allow states to make independent choices about the marijuana programs, according to Young. In a press conference, Gabbard, who has announced her candidacy for the 2020 presidential election, said the bill will remove marijuana from the Federal Controlled Substances List, thereby allowing states to set up their own laws regulating the substance. We've seen now for a generation how our archaic marijuana policies, based on outdated myths and misplaced stigmas, have been used to wage a failed war on drugs, Gabbard said. We've seen the impact on families torn apart, communities left fractured, and the overcriminalization and mass incarceration that was to become the norm. making the impact on the people in our communities as well as taxpayer dollars being spent on the criminal justice system. This language of our always gets me because I don't know who she means by our, and I never know who people mean when they say our. Forgive my cynicism. This is, I live in the modern era. Let's see. Here's the other part. This bill is long overdue. Right. The two also introduced a second bill, the Marijuana Data Collection Act, a report on the impact of state legalization policies on the economy and public health. This bill will allow the opportunity to make sure we're governed by truth and facts and not misinformation and lies, Gabbard said. That part I love. That part I love. I'm not a big fan of ideological governance. And I know when I say that, shedding your ideology, anywhere you go is where you're at. It's like Hotel California. Anywhere, you can check in, but you can never check out. Anywhere you go, you end up in an ideology. So understand what I mean when I say that. I just mean, hey, we need to come up with a solution to healthcare. I know, let's have Obamacare where still millions of people stay uninsured. As opposed to going with this idea of the point of healthcare is healthcare, let's make sure that the point of healthcare is actually healthcare. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make here. This is Trump care being a solution after Obamacare. There is no legitimate, honest way that an honest arbiter can come to the conclusion that Trump care was going to be some kind of solution or even halfway better than Obamacare. Just saying. Same thing with tax cuts. This notion that, oh my God, we have income inequality that is going gangbusters. I know the plan. Tax cuts. We need to give the top 1% more money so they'll spend that money back into the... And that never happens. And it never happens. All right, I'm going to end this here, but Tulsi Gabbard is releasing her bipartisan marijuana legislation. Good on Tulsi. If the first step to this is decriminalizing, meaning allowing the states to make their own marijuana laws, fair enough. I'll take it. I don't want people being put in prison over this stuff, nor do I want the specter hanging over the federal government. And it's also quite possible that with this off the books, that other states will kind of be forced to come into line just from, you could say, the weight of history itself. I have to be honest, I think this is somewhat of a fait accompli for pot, but it doesn't stop people from being arrested every day. So good on Tulsi. I'll leave it here. If you enjoy the content and you find yourself coming back here often, please consider supporting the content through PayPal or Patreon. You get additional content, and we have a patron appreciation show. My wife and I, each Sunday at 1 p.m. Those shows are awesome, less formal, a lot of fun either way. So I will see you guys. I don't know if I'm having another video tonight. Maybe. There's one more that I really wanted to do on Andrew Yang. And there was another one I wanted to do on Beto. Somebody confronted Beto about not releasing his numbers. And Beto danced and dodged. She was like so assertive. It was awesome. So I may show that video just from the laugh value of the video itself. It's awesome. She has 3 clips where she's like very loud and very direct, saying, you got $6.1 million. Yeah, give them a hand, guys. Give them a hand, guys. Why aren't you showing your numbers? Why aren't you showing your numbers? Why are you trying to hide your numbers? I mean, if you got a lot of big ticket donors, you can see how that will give somewhat of a deceptive view of your numbers. I've started calling them Shady Beto because why are you hiding information from your voters? Campaign has barely just started and you're already hiding who's buying you. Who's buying Beto? It's like where in the world is Commerce San Diego? All right, I'll see you guys in a few. Thanks all. Bye-bye.